recording.
I'd like to call to order the May 15th, 2018 Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. Would you please stand and join me for the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Start with introduction of our board members, starting to my left.
Hodge Patel.
Todd Chernick.
Ken Sisson.
Don Kurt.
I make a motion to adopt tonight's meeting agenda as published.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed unanimous. Moving on to the the fourth item on our agenda is approval of the February meeting minutes. I'll make a motion to approve those minutes as published.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve our February meeting minutes. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passed unanimous. The Board of Zoning Appeals is a quasi-judicial board comprised of resident volunteers of the City of Milton. The board is charged with hearing requests for variances from the standards of the zoning ordinance and appeals of administrative determination. With regard to decisions on primary variances, which we'll hear tonight, the board's basis for decision is provided by these four considerations. A, relief if granted would not offend the spirit or intent of the ordinance. And B, there are such extraordinary and exceptional situations or conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property that the literal or strict application of the ordinance would create an unnecessary hardship due to size, shape, or topography, or other extraordinary and exceptional situations or conditions not caused by the variance applicant. And C, relief if granted would not cause a substantial detriment to the public good and surrounding properties. And D, that the public safety, health, and welfare are secured and that substantial justice is done. With that, I ask staff to please present case V18-003, 14135 Cogburn Road.
Yes, sir. This is V18-003. The site is a 2.203 acre lot located along Cogburn Road. It is zoned AG1 and is located in the rural Milton overlay. The rear of the lot is covered by a stream and its accompanying buffers. The house has not been constructed, yet the building permit has been submitted and is under review. The current stream buffers were in place when Mr. Dari purchased the lot. The applicant proposes to build a deck, which will encroach into the 75-foot impervious setback of the stream. Section 24.4262 states that an additional 25-foot impervious setback is required in adjacent to a stream. All impervious cover shall be prohibited in this setback. Since Mr. Dari proposes a deck that will encroach 13.2 feet into this area, a variance is required. On May 1st, 2018, the DRB reviewed this petition and had no comments. On May 2nd, staff reviewed this, and there were no comments except for the city architect. We have worked with the applicant to limit disturbance in the buffer for both the house and the deck. The deck will be covered, but the area under the deck will be covered in impervious pavers. The standards for consideration were read earlier, and I will refer you to the letter of appeal for the applicant's response. It says, due to unusual circumstances regarding the shape of the lot, as well as several state and county buffers, this covers about 80% of the property where we are to adhere to the required buffers. This creates an extreme hardship to install any size deck. And he asked that you consider this buffer so that he can have more enjoyment out of his home. The staff response is as follows. This spirit The spirit of the ordinance will be supported by approval of this variance. The buffers are in place to prevent runoff into the stream. Applicable erosion control measures will be put in place prior to construction, and measures will be taken to mitigate the runoff caused by the new deck. Although the deck is covered, the paved area under the paved portion under the deck will use pervious pavers, and I believe the rest will remain as grass. The approximate 120 square foot encroachment into the impervious setback will not cause any substantial detriment to the public or surrounding properties. The public safety, health, and welfare will be secured as well. Should the board choose to approve the application, staff recommends the following conditions. Approval per the site plan dated January 8th, 2018. Staff has no further conditions. Staff recommends approval with the condition of the per the site plan dated 1/8/2018. And this concludes the staff presentation.
Are there any questions for staff?
I was just wondering, it seems that we've changed something in the way we're presenting these, by how many square feet are going into the buffer versus before it was like how many linear feet? And the ordinance seems to say like the buffer is 50 feet perpendicular from a straight line. I just, not that it's a big deal, but it seems maybe we should have both so we know what the square footage impacted is as well as how many linear feet into it.
Yeah, I tried.
We don't need, I'm just saying for the future, maybe it's.
And I'm sorry, I keep forgetting to give you these bigger site plans.
I mean, technically, you could have a certain square footage that's very narrow but very deep, into the buffer.
So I think I did both.
Yeah.
So it's about 13.2 feet for total, and that gives you about 120 square feet.
Oh, you did say that, yes, okay.
I just didn't do it in that the beginning part.
So this site plan that we're looking at by BC Engineering is actually dated March 29th, whereas the proposed staff conditions was dated 1/8.
Okay, yeah, we must have.
Should we go with the 329?
We'll go with this one because we've been back and forth several times. So yeah, this is the one we're
Okay.
in support of.
I understand the city architect's comments that there's been a lot of work on this site plan. It looks like the property in the house is heavily covered by buffers and extreme topo.
It is, and we worked with him pretty hard just to get anything on there. As you can see, the house is pushed right up to the front setback. The ordinance allows the porch to encroach, so he's taking advantage of that. We found a house plan.
To move the house as far forward as he could.
It's as far as forward as it could be.
Looks like the pool is located outside of the buffer.
At the pool outside of the buffer, in general, we found, the applicant found a house plan that was more linear than, deep. So we did as much as we possibly could.
Okay. Are there any other questions for staff?
Related to the proposed pool, do we foresee any variances related to that coming down the road?
No, the pool is out of the buffer and the impervious setback. And he's using pervious pavers, but it's out of impervious setback also.
And it's out of the side yard.
Yeah.
Oh, you got a colored one.
Not colored.
Any other questions for staff?
No.
Okay, with that, I'd ask the applicant to come forward. If there's anything you'd care to present, we're here to listen.
Yeah, my name is Mazia Daryai. I'm the owner of the property. It's, as you said, it's just a very hard property to build in, but with the help of staff, we just managed to just put this house in this tight setback. The impervious area is about 10,000 square feet. We just ask for 200 square feet of that to be used as just a porch above. It's not going to be anything. I mean, the bottom is going to be pervious pavement, and just 4 columns is going to go to that impervious setback. That's all. If you have any question, I can.
So the total size of the deck is approximately 200 square feet?
No, the total deck is 40 by 15.
40 by 15.
But just that 200 square feet is going to go to impervious.
All right, I want to clarify because from staff's measurements, it looks like it's more like 120 feet of encroachment, not 200.
No, 200 square feet, 13 linear feet.
Estimate, so
Okay.
that would probably be more accurate.
Understood. So you're quoting what's in the site plan.
Yes, and
Where-
I can.
We can't, because it's an odd shape, it's a little
Yeah,
challenging.
it's hard to do the
Calculations.
area, but the thing I can say is the maximum we go is 13 and a half feet,
Understood.
almost. Well, not, yeah. It's odd shape.
Just for clarification, there is extreme topo involved in this lot, and I'm assuming there will be some sort of retaining wall on the lower portion of the deck? Yes or no?
No,
It'll be sloped?
Yeah, it's going to be, that side is, after that is going to be a little bit flat, and then it's going down. We try to don't do any retaining wall, anything over there. No.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be flat.
Okay. Are there any other points you wanted to make?
No, that's all.
Are there any questions for the applicant?
What's the material of the deck?
The deck is going to be wood cover with the stone, but the bottom is going to be pervious pavement.
Yeah, understood that. So no water is going to be able to come through the deck because those stones are all close together?
Yes.
Cemented together? Or, I mean,
It's
how is the deck?
it's a covered deck, correct?
It's a covered deck, yes.
Oh, it's a covered
Have a roof.
Okay,
Yes.
it's got, okay.
Yeah.
So, gotcha. So nothing's going to fall?
No.
Understand.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, with that, if you could take a seat, we're going to move on to any additional questions for staff and then public comment. Are there any other questions for staff? I'll open the floor for public comment. If there's anyone here to speak in favor or against this application, please come forward.
State your name and your address.
I'm
for
sorry,
me,
thank you.
please.
Cherie, I haven't done this before, sorry. Cherie
fine.
Everhart, this is my husband Dennis, 230 Hereford Road. So we're, our bottom of our property borders our new neighbor here.
So you back
And-
up to this property.
Yes, yes. And in principle, I don't have any objections, but I just am not familiar with the whole thing. So that 75 impervious means from the property line into his property, the rule is you're not supposed to build anything unless you get a variance. Is that how it goes?
I'll let staff clarify.
Actually, the 75-foot buffer is to not put an impervious surface 75 feet from the center line of the creek, or from the edge of the rested vegetation.
Of the actual
But from the
stream.
creek.
That makes sense. Okay, I get that. Okay, and that was sort of my second question is, so the creek is, he can't, no one can get in there and fill in the creek or do anything, right? So that, yeah.
Absolutely, that's even more protected.
Exactly. Okay, so that was the other thing. Yeah, and this is all residential, right? So this encroachment is specifically for a deck. So like 10 years from now, you can't go build a big barn without coming back and talking to you guys, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm good.
It's for this plan, is what it is.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Sounds good. I
And,
think. Thank you.
all right, ma'am, if you would like a copy of the site plan,
I would love that. Thank you very much.
you'll see more clearly.
Terrific. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment? Hearing and seeing no other interested public comment, I will close the public hearing portion of this meeting, and I will open the floor for a motion and a second.
I make a motion to approve V18003 with the property address of 14135 Cogburn Road with the following conditions that we reference BC Engineering's plan dated 3/29/2018, and that there's pervious pavers that are under the deck.
I'll second.
Just be technically clear, when you say reference, you mean to comply and meet, construct in accordance with that.
The site plan.
For construction to be completed in accordance with the site plan that's dated 3/29/18, and it was prepared by BC Engineering, Inc.
I will second that. Is there any discussion regarding this motion with two conditions? With that, all those in favor of the motion to approve with the two conditions, one being in accordance to the site plan, second condition requiring pervious pavers to be used below the deck. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimous. Thank you for working with the city architect on this plan. You can get a hold of staff later this week to figure out the next steps.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman, quick question. Who seconded that motion?
I did.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Moving on to the next item on our agenda is V18-004, 15955 Freemanville Road. Would staff please present?
Yes, sir. Once again, this is petition number V18-004. The site is a 10.2-acre lot located along Freemanville Road. It is zoned AG1 and is located in the rural Milton overlay. Mr. Gary Timms will be representing James and Ruth Kofer. The rear of the lot is covered by a stream and its accompanying buffers. The existing pool was constructed and encroaches into the stream buffers when the Kofers purchased the home. The applicants propose to build a new lap pool and pool deck, which will encroach approximately 1,000 square feet into the 75-foot impervious setback of the stream and 166 square feet into the 50-foot stream vegetative buffer. Section 2426.1 states that an undisturbed natural vegetative buffer shall be maintained for 50 feet measured horizontally. Part 2 states an additional setback shall be maintained for 25 feet beyond the undisturbed vegetative buffer, in which all impervious cover shall be prohibited. Grading, filling, and earth moving shall be minimized within this setback. Since the Kofers' new pool will encroach into the 75-foot impervious setback and into the 50-foot undisturbed buffer, a two-part variance is required. On May 1st, 2008, the DRB offered the following comments. They felt it was a nice improvement to the site, and they saw nothing objectionable. The staff meeting held on May 2nd, staff had no comments. The standards for consideration were read earlier, and we will refer to the letter of appeal for the applicant response. Just as background, the scope of the project requires the complete removal of the existing liner pool and concrete pool deck, as it has severe structural issues and is too deep for therapy use. Mr. Kofer requires the ability to swim laps in a shallow pool without making continuous turns. Therefore, a 25-meter pool will accommodate this, allowing him to get his required physical therapy. By removing the existing pool and decking, which currently encroaches into both the 75-foot buffer and the 50-foot undisturbed vegetative buffer, the new proposed pool and decking will encroach into the 75-foot impervious buffer by 987 square feet. We are asking for a variance of 1,000 square foot encroachment into the 75-foot impervious buffer only. As shown on the plan, the pool equipment will no longer be located in any buffer. The staff response is as follows. Originally, the pool deck, and the pool equipment and the septic tank all encroach into the 50-foot buffer and 75-foot impervious setback by 1,828 square feet. The concrete pool deck encroaches into the 50-foot stream buffer by 166 square feet. The proposed pool will encroach into only the 75-foot impervious setback by 1,000 square feet. The spirit of the ordinance will be supported by the approval of this variance, since the amount of encroachment into the impervious setback will be reduced. With the removal of the gravel, all disturbance in the 50-foot buffer will be eliminated. An existing retaining wall prevents the pool from being rotated out of the impervious setback. Removal of the septic tank from the buffer and minimizing the encroachment into the buffer area will benefit public safety, health, and welfare, and will not cause any substantial detriment to the surrounding properties. Should the board choose to approve the application, staff recommends the following conditions. Remove the gravel from the 50-foot buffer area. Revegetate all previously disturbed areas in the 50-foot buffer. The planning plan to be approved by the city arborist. Staff recommends approval with conditions of this request, and this concludes the staff presentation.
Are there any questions for staff?
Do we have a drawing? Or?
We do.
Is that site plan from boundary zone, as was included in our packet? Yeah. Okay, good, so we can see the date now.
Yes.
Any other questions, Don?
Yeah, that's pretty useless, isn't it?
I did have a couple questions. And this is originally a two-part variance for the 75-foot impervious as well as the 50-foot.
Yes.
However, it looks like the recommended, or the pool request would only encroach into the 75-foot.
That's what we're recommending.
However, there will be need to get into the 50-foot to remove gravel and the existing pool deck. So are we in fact approving a two-part variance, the 75 and the 50, or just the 75?
Do they need a variance to remove what's already there?
It's an undisturbed.
It is.
Might as well.
Okay.
So it's out of abundance of
we're just
caution?
gonna do both.
And you can limit it to that
The site
particular
plan.
purpose. Well, and solely for the purpose of removing
Removal.
and reinstigating.
Okay. And there was mention of in the staff report of a septic tank, but that wasn't a required condition.
Well, they're removing as part of their project. They are relocating the septic voluntarily.
Okay. And where is that currently? Is it in the 75?
Existing septic tank and pump to be removed. So it's between the deck and the pool, I believe.
Okay, so they're moving it from the rear yard to the front yard. So yes, Ken, I think you're right. Probably the field is being relocated. Okay. So there's no need to condition that.
Right, they're doing that anyway.
As far as the date on this plan, I see a handwritten date in here of 1/9/17. Is that what staff would go with?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions for staff before I ask the applicant to come forward? Okay, with that, the applicant's free to come forward and share more specifics, if you will.
Good evening. My name is Gray Timms. I own Signature Pool Designs. So all the information you guys have repeated is pretty much correct. So the existing condition with the pool and decking and equipment and everything that's currently there in place encroaches 1,828 into the 75-foot and 166 into the 50-foot. The plan is to completely remove all of the existing currently, and the new structure and pool deck will only encroach into the 75-foot by 1,000 square feet is what we're asking for. So, and per the recommendations, what I've heard you guys saying, revegetating the area is definitely the plan. There's no need for any exterior walls on the backside or anything like that. So ultimately, you know, we're making the area much better as to the situation where it is currently. The pool that's there currently has some structural issues, and the repairs needed to fix those structural issues would create a lot more havoc than just going in and completely removing and starting over and doing it right the first time. So ultimately, that's what we're asking for here.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant's representative?
Will all of the materials in terms of the old pool and so forth will be moved off of site? It won't be
Yes.
left on site?
That is
anywhere else?
correct,
Okay.
yes.
Any other questions?
The length of the pool would have to be reduced by how much to pull that inside the 75 foot?
Approximately 30 feet.
So you'd have a 50-foot pool instead of an 80-foot pool. And then you still have the concrete beyond that, and that can't be relocated. What's the purpose of that concrete on the end of the pool? That's just like another...
It's actually just 4 foot, just enough to walk around.
Oh, I'm looking at the end of the pool going towards zone. Let's see, I'm not even sure what direction this is here. It would be sort of the southwest.
You have a plan that shows the new pool that's going in without all the overlay and everything?
I do not. All I've got is just the overlay.
Same thing I got?
Yeah, same. Yes, sir.
So the dotted red area?
Yes, so the dotted red area, the hashed area, actually indicates the pool location, indicating where it encroaches into the buffer. It's just the hatched area.
So that's all pool now?
Yes.
Oh, I got you. Okay, it doesn't end at that first dark line there. It looks like the end of the pool. The pool goes all the way out the whole length of the red box.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now,
Rectangular red box.
yeah, I got you now. I guess my other question is, I don't think I saw in your plan at all anything mentioning what you were going to do with the gravel, but I saw it's the staff's recommendation that be
To
taken
be
out.
removed. Yes, sir.
Is that just loose gravel? Or?
It is. The funny thing is it's represented on the plan. Currently, there's actually nothing there. I think somebody, they're doing quite a bit of remodel on the house currently, and you mentioned the septic system. That was done months and months ago from the builder that's renovating the house and making the additions there. So I think at that time, they went in and they were cutting some driveway expansion area and stuff like that, and so I think a lot of that gravel got removed. Currently, it's just a kind of a pile of dirt and some wheat straw and stuff on it.
Okay, so that was used during the construction process.
That's right.
And that will be mitigated during this with replanting.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? Okay, you can take a seat. We'll open it for public comment. You'll have a chance to make a closing remark.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any questions for staff before I open it for public comment? If there's anyone here to speak in favor or against this application, you're free to come forward, state your name.
Hi, Brian Kunitaki. My wife and I are on the adjacent lot, 16077 Inverness. So we are in the cul-de-sac immediately adjacent to the stream, other side of the impervious setback. Just a question that we have, so looking at the public filings and the statement itself, it's not clear, sir, I think you made the comment earlier about the square footage versus the actual linear encroachment into the zone. It wasn't clear to us if the request is actually further into the zone, regardless of square foot. But secondly, from our lot, we moved in, we closed on the house last October. The development that the Kofers are doing is very clearly visible through the trees setback that we are doing. And certainly my wife and I's concern was any new work, not just the encroachment physically, linearly into the setback, but vertical above, higher than the ground, because the lay of the land, the trees and the stream itself are not visible, but it looks like they're building an in-law suite or some kind of improvement that's very clearly visible. If the pool deck or footprint is in fact higher than the current pool, it would very much, I believe, be to the detriment of our view of that angle. And so just a question is, it wasn't clear to me from the filing whether or not either of those, the linear distance into the setback or the vertical height higher than the current configuration.
All right, we'll clarify the elevation question. Can staff answer the encroachment in terms of feet of encroachment?
I'm not sure about the height. So
Right.
in terms of the linear distance into the buffer, the new pool is less of an encroachment. And in terms of the square footage of encroachment into the buffer and the impervious setback, there's less of encroachment with the new pool. I don't see the wall is existing, so I don't see that there would be any higher. He's not building a new wall, but I guess the applicant can confirm that.
Given that your situation as a neighbor, I don't mind sharing this site plan with you.
Okay.
And if,
Sure. Thanks.
I think you'll find it, you can make your own judgment. Go ahead and take it to your seat, you're fine. Hopefully that answers your question. We'll address the elevation question. Are there any other concerns you might have?
Yeah, I just want to, I'm not trying to be difficult, I just wanted to understand, would it be acceptable if I were to just speak with Mr. Timms, just to understand?
Sure.
Okay.
Sir, when you have a moment, could you fill out one of the yellow cards for me, please?
Any other business we want to get to?
Are there any other questions for staff?
I was thinking if there's any new or old business that you want to get to, we could amend the agenda to push this to the end. There's nothing on the identified agenda unless you got new business you want to.
Let me check and see how much more time if I can ask them to wrap it up. Gentlemen, are we about wrapped up? Are you more satisfied? You can keep the plan. I just want to make sure that your concerns, being a neighbor, are sufficiently addressed. Do you have any other comment?
No, I'm living good, sir. Thank you.
And just for clarity, Are you satisfied with what's being proposed, and are you in favor or in opposition?
Based on what Mr. Timms told me in the site plan he just talked me through, I think it's acceptable to myself and my wife. I'd be interested, I know the packet mentioned that the revegetative work would be inspected and approved, and as long as that's done to the satisfaction of the board, as per the spirit and letter of the request, I have no objection.
Okay, and we'll make sure that's to the satisfaction of the city arborist, to be clear.
Okay,
Thank you. Okay, with that, Mr. Timms, you have an opportunity to make any closing comments if you care. That's up to you.
I just want to point out something with regards to your question about the length of the pool. Mr. Kofer, the owner of the property, is a very large man. He's about 6'8", and has some severe back issues that requires him to exercise quite a bit. And being a swimmer in his previous years, the doctors recommended him get back in the pool. A shorter pool, obviously, for a very tall man like that means you're turning a lot, and the idea is to be able to basically swim as far as you possibly can. So that's ultimately why we went with that. He requested a 25-meter pool so that he could get that exercise in properly. So just to hopefully clarify that.
Can you also clarify the elevation concern that was raised?
Yeah, absolutely. And that was a very good question. The elevation will remain the same as the current and existing pool. Nothing will change there as far as finish elevation, because there's an existing wall that's shown on the plan that's up close to the driveway. That is actually going to remain.
And also for clarification, that existing wall, which we haven't really discussed, is a barrier to moving that pool closer to the home.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Any additional questions for the applicant?
What's the height of that existing wall, approximately?
It's roughly 30 inches, plus or minus a couple.
Okay.
Let me ask a question that to what you just said, Todd. You can't move further because of the wall, in the wall direction, but going towards that back of the house, what's blocking moving the pool further in the linear direction there of the pool? The length of the pool looks like I can't tell what's there. It doesn't look like there's much there.
I think basically just the house structure itself. They've done some additions to the back of the house that open that area up, and so it's just limited that area.
Looks like part of the wall juts out there as well.
It does.
Which part of that?
Like a tail planter or something, where there's steps.
Yeah, that piece right there. That's part of the wall. Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't know what this whole area was in there.
Okay. Any additional questions? Thank you, Mr. Timms. With that, the public comment portion of this hearing is closed, and I'll open the floor for a motion and a second. I'll make a motion to approve V18-004 as a two-part variance with the following conditions. It's to be built in accordance to the site plan produced by Boundary Zone Incorporated, dated 1/9/17, with the following two additional conditions: removal of the gravel from the 50-foot buffer, and second condition, revegetate all previously disturbed areas in the 50-foot buffer, planting to be approved by the city arborist.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion regarding this motion to approve? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passed unanimous. Good luck with your project. Please stay in touch with the city staff. Item number 6 on our agenda is consideration of appeals and secondary variances. Are there any?
I have none.
Number 7 is old business.
I have none.
In old business, maybe I guess I'd like to cover it in old business. There was recently a training session, Friday and Saturday. Who from the board was able to attend that?
I attended that session both Friday and Saturday.
Couldn't make it.
And then Brenda was there on Saturday as well.
And Brenda was there. Okay.
One of the things that came out of that session was actually very informative. We were able to meet a lot of the other committees that were part of the city of Milton. And some of the suggestions that came out of there is on a monthly basis. What we'd like to do is have a meeting where there's one representative from each board or committee that participates in that. And you get about 5 minutes to speak about your board and what are some of the things that we're facing in terms of whether it's variances coming before us or if there's any concerns, et cetera. There was a lot of information that was shared from some of the other committees that, frankly, I was unaware of, so I felt it was very helpful to be involved in that and learn more about the city and be able to connect our residents with one another as well.
I heard leading up to that, I heard it was, the agenda was well suited for the audience. I also heard a suggestion from some prior or existing city council for our board and other boards to attend other meetings to see the dynamics of what the planning commission is dealing with or the design review board. So I just wanted to make that known, encourage that as well to see how those meetings are conducted and what the dynamics and topics that they're facing.
And to add on to what Todd just said, if you can't attend the meeting, at least read through their agenda so you're familiar with what cases they're working on and so forth as well would be helpful. Because we never know if a particular case is going to float our way.
And most of them are streamed, so if you're,
Right.
stuck in your office, you can watch.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for joining. Thanks to Brenda as well, representing the BZA. Item number 8 is new business. Is there any?
I have none.
Before we move to item number 9, do we have an idea of the caseload for June?
I believe we have 2.
Okay. With that, I'll move to item number 9 and make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a roaring second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.